All right. Yeah. Can you find us, Jake? Cameron, can you find us there? All right. Well, we'll just get started. Good morning, everyone. Welcome to the morning grind. It is a very special day today on a couple of fronts. First thing is we've got very special guests with us today. Dwight Dye, tax planning professional. Give everybody a round of applause for Dwight. Glad to have you here.
Thank you, Shane.
Appreciate you taking the time. I know you had to get up early this morning, had to get your workout in early, get your devotional in early, move the schedule up, move the kids around. Thanks for taking the effort.
Right. Anything for you.
He was talking to you, Tommy. Did you hear that? We have something else very special happening today before we even get to our 60 seconds of gratitude. Does anyone here or anyone out there on the YouTubes or the internet, does anyone know Stephen Weathers? Weatherman, right. Now, if you know Stephen Weathers, a.k.a. the Weatherman, then you know that he is going to be celebrating his birthday today. And so we all want to wish him a very happy birthday. This place does not run without the Weatherman. When I first had the opportunity to work with Good Time Tommy's team, the first word that I got was, everything here runs through the Weatherman. So we want to say happy birthday to you, Weatherman. I know you'll be in a little bit later today, but happy birthday, man. Appreciate all you do, bud. All right, so let's get to our 60 seconds of gratitude. Besides the Weatherman, what are you thankful for? What do you got 60 seconds of gratitude for this morning, Jake?
I'm thankful for me and Cam. We started a thing yesterday. So I picked up a bad habit about a year ago of vaping. A very nasty habit. And we're holding each other accountable. We made each other contracts, and we're about to
all right.
rock and roll with it.
I like that. I like that. Okay, that's very good. Working together to get to a better spot, man. That's kind of what we do all day, every day, you know. Good luck with that. If you need anybody to help hold you accountable, don't forget to call on me, all right?
I got you.
Thankful for that. Cam? Now, you can't see.
So I will be going up to Kentucky for Thanksgiving on Thursday. Haven't seen them in a while. Got family up in Kentucky, so.
Oh, I didn't realize that. Okay.
With them, so I'm thankful for that.
Gotcha. Gonna be doing the Thanksgiving thing.
Yep.
Thanksgiving is coming up. Everybody, it's a great week of intentional connection with people. Dwight, what are you thankful for this morning? As our guest, we're gonna put you on the spot. What are you thankful for this morning?
Well, before we went live, we were talking about relationships.
Yeah.
And I'm thankful for relationships because, that just makes everything go round. Meeting people, networking, and seeing how I can help other people through those relationships.
Yeah,
That's important.
absolutely. Well, we're glad that you're here communing with us this morning and sharing this relationship. And we're going to talk about taxes. So Dwight is a tax professional, a tax planner. He is someone that if you are trying to figure out how to interact with the tax code, it's easy, Dwight, as a professional, as a mortgage professional and a real estate investment professional, we throw a lot of these sort of terms around, and I think a lot of people that are just out there in the world may think to themselves, oh, yeah, I hear there's tax shelters and tax benefits and just all these kinds of different things that get involved with owning real estate and so on and so forth. So I want to pull a couple of those apart this morning, and let's talk about what they actually are and how that can kind of play into a wealth building strategy, that kind of thing. So if you're out there and you own real estate, it applies also to your personal residence. Obviously, there's some tax things that happen there, but we're going to focus a little bit this morning on investment real estate, non-owner occupied real estate. So if you've got some real estate that maybe you've collected over the years. I know it sounds kind of funny, but people will get in one place and they'll move to another place and keep the house that they had before, and they just sort of end up with real estate like that. Some people have a more intentional desire to go and collect rental properties and invest in real estate. They may be looking to make a plan coming forward into 2023 to do that. So let's talk a little bit about some of the basic advantages to owning investment real estate when it comes to a tax perspective. Now, I don't recommend someone go out and say, hey, I'm going to go buy 123 Lucky Lane just to save on taxes. I don't know that that's exactly what you would recommend. But if you're making that decision, there are a lot of ways that you can use the tax code and have strategies that you can employ to make the most out of those investments. So talk about just a couple of those things for that younger investor, 1 to 4 properties, trying to make a plan.
Yeah, so first of all, the tax code is written for business owners and real estate investors. The government encourages our behavior through the tax code. So W-2 employees and self-employed people that file a Schedule C are the worst from a tax situation. So if you can move over to a big business, such as an S Corp, a C Corp, and be an investor, whether it be stocks or real estate, that's where you're going to have the most tax savings. So it's important to shift, if you're a Schedule C filer, to see if you can go over to the S Corp type filing, where you can start really taking advantage of some tax savings.
Is that a very difficult process?
Easy.
So if someone comes and says, hey, Dwight, I've been running this business, I've been a single member LLC, or I've been in this format, how difficult is it to go
help people all
from
the
one
time.
to? Okay, so that's
Yeah.
something that can be accomplished pretty relatively inexpensively and relatively quickly.
Yeah.
Okay.
So I know we're talking about real estate investing,
That's-
but if you're a Schedule C filer and you're making more than 50 grand a year, it's worth doing some calculations. If your net income gets to 100 grand, I've done it enough to where you need to be an S Corp.
Okay, so let's repeat that one more
I have
time.
a quick question.
Yes, sir.
Yeah.
Like, at what point does it make sense to become an S Corp? Is it revenue derived? Is it number of people? When does it make sense to be an S Corp?
Great question. I don't know if everybody could hear, but the question from Tommy is, at what point do you examine becoming an S Corp, and what's the trigger points that you're looking at that say, okay, this is a good move for me?
Yeah, so from a net profit standpoint, once your net profit reaches 50 grand, it's worth doing some calculations. Because as a Schedule C filer, you're paying 15.3% on your net income plus your regular income. So if you move over to the S Corp, you save that 15.3%.
Gotcha.
You still have to put yourself on payroll, so you're kind of still paying some payroll taxes,
Yeah.
but that's a deduction to your business then, which helps lower your profit. And then you only pay the difference in taxes from your net income minus your expenses.
I had no idea. I had no idea that the
At your
number
regular
was that
income
low.
rate.
I mean, 50 grand is a lot of money, but for an annual earner that's self-employed, that's not a very high bar to
It's
hit.
not.
I did not know that number was that low. I would not have started doing calculations that early. I mean, I've learned something already this morning. I did not know that. Did you know that, Tommy?
Which part?
That at 50 grand net revenue
No, I
is
didn't know
a
50 grand.
Schedule
I would
C?
have thought, I would have thought it would probably be higher than that, for it to make sense.
Yeah, that's where the number you start doing calculations. So
Yeah.
if you're out there on a Schedule C, I know that applies to people in real estate and any other number of professions. If your net income is 50,000 or more, you probably need to contact Dwight, sit down, make a plan to reach him after the first of the year, and see if there's a different structure for you going forward. Okay, so that would be one area for sure, as an earner. But back to real estate again.
Right.
What are some of the other ways that people are advantaged through the tax code to continue investing in real estate?
So as long as your income is below 100,000, you can deduct up to $20,000 in passive losses. So typically, the real estate will produce a loss on paper by the time you deduct the expenses, the mortgage interest, the property taxes, the insurance, and then you depreciate the property. So that should generate a loss on paper, which you can use that loss to offset your active W-2 income or your business income. But once your income starts to get above 100,000, it starts to phase out up to 150,000. So once your income reaches 150,000 or more, there's some other strategies where if you have a spouse that doesn't work, or maybe has a low-paying job, get them to quit their job and become what's called a real estate professional. And there's some required hours that they have to meet during the year working in that as a real estate professional. It doesn't mean they have to get their real estate license like you guys, but there's just some hours, 750 hours a year that they have to meet working in those properties, managing the properties, screening tenants, dealing with repairs. And once they hit those hours, they can start deducting those passive losses against maybe the other spouse's active earned income.
Okay, so let's cover that one more time. So let's say you've got a couple, they've gotten a couple of rental properties over time. They've got their primary residence, and they've got maybe their starter home and their first move up, and they've got a couple of properties. But now what you're telling me is one of those individuals could not work, start being a real estate professional as the tax code sees it, not a licensed realtor, but a real estate professional. And if they spend something like 2 or 3 hours a week, is that the number?
It comes out to almost about 14 a week.
About 14 or 15
Yeah.
hours a week. So
That's not a whole lot.
no, especially even if you've just got a couple, 3 rentals. I mean, a lot of people will tell you that the time that it's the most labor intensive is if you're an individual and you own 2 or 3, right? It's like once you get to 10, it's different, right?
Right,
But
right.
at 2 or 3, it's a lot.
I was a real estate investor, and last year I cost segregated a property. And so how much, I don't know how much we wrote off that year, but how much will be the second year? Is there anything left over, or is all the juice squeezed out already?
Yeah, typically when you do the cost segregation,
Okay, wait a minute.
Okay.
Before we get too far
You may
into the cost
explain that.
segregation, let's talk about what we're dealing with, depreciation, which means if you own a piece of property from a tax standpoint, if you own that property at 123 Lucky Lane and you own all of the things related to that property, over time, you're going to have expenses to repair and maintain that property. So for example, if you have a roof on that property, yes, that roof may cost you $10,000 when you replace that roof, but if you own that property from a tax standpoint, if you own it for 30 years, then 1/30th or 1/12th or however much the annual amount of wear and tear on that roof is what we're talking about in depreciation. Because if you replace that roof 5 years from now, yeah, it cost you $10,000 then, but it kind of costs you $2,000 a year as well until you get to that point. So that's what we're talking about with depreciation, and then what he's talking about as far as cost segregation. So pick it up from there.
okay, yeah. So from a depreciation standpoint, on a normal residential property, you're going to put that out 27 and a half years. So say you buy it for 100 grand, well, you subtract out the land, and then after that, you divide that amount by the 27 and a half years. With cost segregation, what you're talking about, Tommy, is you hire somebody to do a study, and they go through the property, and they break down everything. They break down the cabinets, the countertops, the flooring, the doors, the roof. They separate everything out from the building, or from the house itself, and you can accelerate that depreciation for this year, for 2022, up to 100%.
What about last year, how much did you do?
100%. Starting in 2023, it goes down to 80%. And then it'll eventually phase out over the next, 4 or 5 years
Is there
towards
any
to zero.
So there's no depreciation left at all?
No, because what you've done is you've just accelerated the depreciation on the cabinets, the flooring, those type things, the toilets,
Yeah.
the showers, those type things. You still have the building itself over the 27 and a half years.
Okay, so there'll be some.
There'll be
Well,
some
I
still.
think last year, that building, filing as a real estate professional, I think it saved about $20,000 of actual tax dollars depreciating that.
Yeah, usually a good cost segregation study will save you 20 to 30%.
Yep. I had to pay the girl that did it like $2,500.
That's reasonable. Normally they're around 5 grand. I guess depending on the property,
Yeah.
and maybe if it's commercial.
Yeah, so, well, it's a short-term rental in Nashville.
Yeah,
Yeah.
that's a great strategy.
Yeah, a great.
And
great
even
point
next
of
year, when it
conversation.
goes down to 80%, it's still worth doing it.
Yeah.
Because you'll still be able to claim the 20% that's left over as the normal depreciation.
Sure enough. Okay, so Dwight, if someone is out there, I know that you and I talked a little bit before the show started, and as most competent, busy professionals, you kind of have a full slate for the rest of the year, so we don't want to discourage anyone from contacting Dwight. He'd be probably happy to field some questions or some emails, but not really taking on brand new clients from a getting started planning perspective till after the first of the year. But if someone's out there and they're like, "Hey, I really see where Dwight may be able to help me experience some savings," I think it's interesting that the code does sort of encourage you to go from an earned income existence to an asset-based existence. And I think a lot of people that don't understand what advantages there are for them maybe just feel as if the tax code is just always sort of a penal situation where it's like, okay, I don't really have anywhere to move here, I'm just giving. But that's not necessarily the case by a long stretch. So if you're out there and you're thinking, you know what, I really feel like maybe I need to sharpen my saw when it comes to my tax strategy, and or I want to increase and grow my assets, and I need to do it in the smartest way possible. How do they reach you to get an appointment for after the first of the year? But how do they reach you?
Yeah, so, excuse me, my website is dwd.dwightdye.com/strategy call. So it has my information on there. There's some videos I've posted, and then there's a link where you can schedule a 30-minute, no obligation, completely free strategy call just to see what you have going on and see if I might be able to help you.
If you're going to own assets, pay taxes, I don't really see how you're going to be feeling responsible about sailing your ship if you don't take 30 minutes to talk to Dwight about how it is that he may be able to help. So mark that down on your to-do list for 2023. First thing, reach Dwight so that I can grow my assets as smartly as possible throughout the year. My name is Shannon Wheeler. I'm with the Shannon Wheeler team at PMG, and we're glad to be here this morning hosting the show. We look forward to a wonderful Thanksgiving with our family. We want to extend the same thing to you. So everyone that's out there, Cameron's heading to Kentucky. Dwight, I don't know, what are your Thanksgiving plans, man?
We're going to do a real quick trip to North Georgia to see my wife's sister, and then we're coming right back Friday.
Yeah.
So,
Very good.
real
Okay,
quick.
so to everyone out there, from the morning grind to you, happy Thanksgiving. Van with a big turkey leg for the week, take us out.